Yeah. Gotta aim for the top like. Hold up. Yeah. I can never doubt myself. I know better. All of you critics be acting like you know better.
Here's a fact. If you ask yourself that question, does this feed my faith, my family, or my finances? And it doesn't. If you do that, I guarantee it'll guide your decisions.
No, I'm in my element. Ooh, yeah. I'm in my element. Ooh.
Hey, welcome to the Now or Never podcast, all things entrepreneurship, people who just take life and kick it square in the ass. I'm your host, Tim and Rexius, with my beautiful co-host, my wife, Brittney Rexius.
Hey.
Wow, I'm pizzazz.
I know. The 5 a.m. workouts, they're putting a little pep in my step until about 2 p.m.
Well, you guys heard in the past where we talked about like us taking our health more seriously. We can't just be in an industry of selling nutritional supplements, helping people be healthy and having gyms and all this shit, and not live it and breathe it. And we put way too much on our plate. Like,
yeah.
I love it when people are like, "Oh, how busy I am." I'm like, do you have any kids? No. Okay. You're not busy.
Yeah.
And working 80 hours a week with 6 kids, it's challenging, but you have to make it a priority. And I always, the expression, if you want it as bad as you want to breathe, you'll figure it out. Right. So, a couple announcement things before we get into a little bit today. It's gonna be a short one, but, big things happen at VHI. We just landed a national distribution account for the OPP protein popcorn.
Yes.
So anybody who follows this from the supplement industry, go to Sport Life. And they're going to have it at all 3 warehouses, the mini bags. And you should pressure your reps to get the big bags.
Yes.
Anyways, and we're going to the Sweet and Snacks Convention in Chicago in May. We're going to present to some of the biggest food buyers in the world. It's pretty awesome. And
exciting
we're
stuff.
really starting to land some accounts here and there and all over the place. So VHI is really starting to grow. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a premier name in the supplement industry over the next 24 to 36 months. And in saying, I actually get to fly down next week and talk to a buddy of mine who's got an extreme amount of experience in this industry. And I'm going to try to bribe him to come on Team VHI. So there's your warning, Frank. Anyways, that's it. So something else we'll talk about today, something that we find and we preach a lot to our team, we preach a lot to our franchisees, is about networking. Okay. It's a huge thing for business. So I don't care if you're a dentist, a chiropractor, I don't care if you run a retail supplement store, if you own a gym, if you're the local lawn mowing guy, networking is an invaluable tool that is underappreciated, and it's not the way you think it is, which, I find with the younger entrepreneurs, and we just gave a couple of speeches at a couple of high schools explaining things from a different perspective, that, things like the Chamber of Commerce, whether it be a city chamber, a county chamber, a state chamber, whether it's a Center for Networking group, whatever it is, we are literally in all of them.
Yeah.
And we actually make our management team, go out to all of them as well, because it's a huge networking tool. And we've had people literally say, well, that's old people stuff. Yeah, you can see it that way. It's old school because it fucking works.
Exactly.
And that's where I always find it so arrogant and ignorant when people think, well, I know how to do this better than pioneers of industry who've been doing this for the last 60, 70 years. No, you don't. And so when I was younger and I first got into this, what I found was, as I was the young man in the room, definitely not the case now, but I was then, and a lot of these older people who were in business who've been doing this for 20 and 30 years looked at me like one of their kids. 2 of them said, like, I wish my kid had your kind of drive. And they would actually almost parentally help me get things that I couldn't afford to do or opportunities I couldn't get on my own, because they took that mentoring type feel. It's something that I've talked to Chad in great length about. I'm like, dude, got to come to these events with me, because everyone there is for the same mission. And that's what you have to think. They're all running business. They're working for companies, or they have their own, and they're all trying to grow and understand. So like in a nutrition store, for instance, let me explain this. Brittney knows this. We work at the shops. We'll talk, and we ran a whole shift for a whole day. We're going to talk to, if it's center store, 50 to 60 customers, right? Yeah. At least during one day. And so 20 to 30 of those are people that we know that shop consistently.
Yeah.
We know them. And if I just got a really good deal from the guy who sells tires down the street at the tire shop, and we're in the chamber and I got to know him, and there's a relationship that's developed there, I'm going to talk about, so they bring, I got to get some tires. Oh, dude, go see my boy, John. Yeah. He runs a tire shop down the street. Tell him I sent you. Here, I have his card. And then you know how it is. You always want to know that I got a guy, right? I got a guy. You're the Cheers bartender, right? You always know everybody that needs to know somebody something. That's what these networking groups do for you. And automatically, John's going to get that business because it came with our personal recommendation and a business card. Like, go tell him that Tim sent you, tell him that Brittney sent you, and boom, this guy's business. That sale's been made because we already have that trust. Well, now think about it. If you meet 100 business owners at a chamber event who all had that same exact who all had the same exact situation, situation. They have 20 customers that they talk to on a daily basis. And that's how you grow without actually having to spend a freaking dime on radio or TV or social media.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, it's like I brought it up to Chad, for instance, was, which I'm going to get you to go no matter what.
I'll be there.
The thing is like, because people are like, hey, I've seen your stuff
Just let me
online.
know.
Some of these ones are new. Like Senator's new for me. I did their golf tournament last year and had a few too many drinks. And I was like, hey, I like this place, right? So, and it was funny, like, we really like your videos and stuff. Like, what does that cost? And I go, actually, we have a guy. And he goes, I've been friends with him since we were 6 years old. And I go, oh, cool. Because they're always afraid when it's an area that they don't understand. There's a lot of fear of, I don't even want to start the conversation because I'm afraid of what it might cost or what I might get talked into.
Yeah.
And so by giving a recommendation, no, that's my boy Chad. He'll take great care of you, da-da-da. The sale's been made, so it's actually you're helping the other businesses sharpen themselves up. Yeah. So if you give a shit about your community at all and seeing the businesses around your community grow, join the damn chamber, county, city.
Yeah.
I got offered the position to possibly be the chairman of the board for a local chamber here. I kind of got set up, and if you guys watch this, you set me up. If it works out, I'm going to do it because I really firmly believe in supporting local as a thing. And I want our kids and our grandkids to have a future. And it's not because we're irrelevant. It's because we're not adapting. We're not using the tools that are around us all the time. And Brittney's seen this firsthand, like with some of the people that we've done some of the chamber stuff with. And
oh yeah. I mean, social media is great, but it's only a tool. When people want to make that connection, they still want a familiar connection. They still want an in-person connection. And these chamber coffee and contacts, you just got to go shake hands, have free coffee, and just go meet new people and expand your own network. And then you're expanding their networks and vice versa. I mean, it's always a good thing to have a handshake. I'm old school because that's how I grew up, because I grew up in small business families, and a firm handshake says so much.
I mean, you could have said it better. It makes so much sense when you can look somebody else in the eye. With the social media thing, sometimes you don't know who's behind.
Right, it can be completely fake on social media.
When you actually shake their hand, look them in the eye, and even if they have somebody running their social media like for them, but if you can actually meet the person that you're doing business with, it makes all the difference.
Oh yeah, it puts
whole
layer of
how
trust.
many brands that we've done business with, even because we're in a global supply chain, especially our industry, and we're in a national distribution channel. So brands we buy from for the Rexius stores, for instance, there's guys there in New Jersey, they're in Boca Raton, actually two of them. I got guys down in Texas. I got to fly down West Palm Beach next week to talk to Frank. Which is cool. Get me out of here. But they're all over the place. But it's funny, the guys that I buy from are the guys who've been here.
Yeah.
They literally was because I met them. And even if I didn't even like him at first, I gave them props for actually trying to earn the business.
Yeah. And
that's who we do business with. There's one company we spend $500,000 a year with, who he came up here 2 or 3 times. I didn't even like him that much. And now he's convinced we named our youngest child after him. But we do a lot of business with these guys because he came up here, ended up coming, fast forward 3-4 years later, he's at our wedding.
Yeah.
He's at one of our franchisees' weddings. Up in the middle of nowhere, Wayne. And that's all because he took the time to come here, earn the business, and now we carry 50 SKUs from this company.
He took the time to become a friend.
That's it. He took the time to become a friend. He didn't wow me with any real technical knowledge. He invented his own pre-workout, which I thought sucked. But the rest of the brand it's awesome. And he's just a good guy. And so here's the thing. There's sometimes when even he slips, right? Where maybe his service isn't what I need it to be. He's got personal shit going on. I'm just, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's okay because it's my friend. And so I actually am okay with it taking a little longer or having to ask a second or third time for something. If because we all have those days. We have those weeks, those months, those seasons of our life. But since he's my friend, I'm not threatening him. We're not arguing. I'm like, hey man, I don't know what's going on, bro. I'm here for you. But hey, can I get a copy of my invoice?
Yeah.
It's fine because that's what friends do. And this is where the whole point is. So don't try to get customers, try to get friends. And that's it. You can turn your customers into your friends. And that's a hell of a lot easier than turning your friends into customers. Yeah. We've talked about that repetitively. So join the chamber. Like, listen, if I told you that for $100 a year to join the City of Ralston Chamber, you could gain $1,000 a month in business, a 12,000% return on your investment, would you do it?
Heck yeah.
Of course you would.
You'd be stupid not to.
I think I screwed that math up, but you get the point. You get that many multiplier return on your investment because you met people, they've got friends, they're going to buy from you, their friends are going to buy from you. You get to create these relationships. And not only that, even if you just did 1 year and you only went to one coffee and contacts a month, every month for 1 hour in the morning, and you went and met those people, and all of a sudden you got that business. Now, let's say you even rejoin next year, but now you've got those connections and those circles keep growing and expanding. And also understand that for you older cats who maybe did the chamber 5, 6, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and you quit because maybe you didn't feel like you're getting as much out of it, understand that your demographic, your customers rotate. They move to new neighborhoods, they move to new cities, new states. All the people you had firm because you were satisfied and complacent are gone now. Your staff has aged, so the demographic has changed. Getting back in the chamber reintroduces you to the community who may have been there forever.
Yeah.
And it's like me. It's like right now we farm out our printings, a lot of our printing out of state because I don't know anybody here locally who can do it at a fair price and the volume and time that I need it done by.
Yeah.
There's a couple of smaller shops and I like them and we do what we can local, and I'm sure they're here. I don't have time to search you out. I just honestly don't have the time. I go with wherever my vendors recommend that they already deal with. Because why? Because my vendors are my friends and they've made a suggestion. I would love nothing more. So, hey, you want a printing company up here and you can do foil labels on roll at a decent price and a decent speed, come to a freaking chamber meeting so I can meet you. That's it. It's constant packaging, you name it. Like you don't believe the needs we have. It's constant. Like I haven't met a single person in an office supply place at any single chamber, anything. So what do? We kind of look it up on Marketplace and randomly. I don't have a guy. I want to have a guy. You know what I mean? I want to have a guy or a gal at some place that I can go to. And that's literally, that's on you.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of the most, and for you guys in the nutrition industry, you listen to this, let me tell you right now, I've seen some of the most successful trainers and owners of supplement stores, and their main driving force is the local chambers.
Mm-hmm.
And it is once a month. It's twice a month, a coffee and the contacts, shaking hands, eating some donuts there, having coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
It might be a once a month mixer at 4:30, 5 o'clock for happy hour. You don't have to go to everything. And some of them for you younger entrepreneurs, you need to do all of them because you don't know shit. You think you know things, but you don't know a goddamn thing. You don't know anything. The amount of knowledge. Imagine if you got the chance to sit across from Jeff Bezos or Steve Jobs or Warren Buffett, right? Captains of industry, like them, love them, or hate them, they're fucking good. And you got the chance to sit there with them for an hour and pick their brain over a cup of coffee. How many of you would jump to that opportunity?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, understand that there are 100 of those in your community who have 50, 60, 70 years of experience who you can't learn in a book and you can't learn in college. And they're willing to sit there and meet with you and give you, sometimes your suggestions are outdated, sure, but you smile, just like you're talking to grandpa. And you want to talk about the crazy shit he did back in Nam, right? But that's all right. You just smile and you give him another drink. But that's the whole point. But you just sit there and just soak that knowledge in and be like, you know what? I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, because I was going to say it may change the way you think about something if you hear their experience that may be outdated, but if you can apply it to this time of your life, I mean, what's the harm going to be?
Well, it's just it. And I say my little brother has been great at that. Craig, he's an attorney here in Omaha, and he makes connections. He goes to events and he makes connections. He always wants to like, hey, look, give me your card. Let's get coffee, whatever. And then so he calls me up like, hey, this guy I met used to franchise with, the automobile industry. Then he was franchising with Complete Nutrition. Now he's with the biggest franchisee. He's their CEO, CFO for the biggest franchisee for Jiffy Lube in the entire United States. And he's here in Omaha, Nebraska. And he doesn't even own franchises here. They're all out of state. They're New York to whatever. It's a new concept. It's a designer. It's like you're going into the dealership waiting room, but it's Jiffy Lube. Where we're talking K-cups and 60-inch flat screen TVs, and it's clean. And the person doing the desk doesn't work in there, so there's no oil in their hands. I'm like, oh shit, that's bougie. You're right up my wife's alley. She would totally pay double for that. I know my wife, and I'm like, that's all. But I'm like, so we had lunch last week, and Craig just wanted to introduce me, and he met him through an event, and I'm like, this is cool. And Craig's like, well, Craig's not gonna get a lot of this guy, but he knows that I would, so he made the connection, and now I have a new friend, and
now
I'm
you
like,
got a new guy.
And now I got a new guy. I'm like, hey, like, what do you think of this? We're shooting ideas back and forth. And he doesn't know a lot about my company, but I'm appreciating this fact. This guy's about 20 years older than me. He's got phenomenal experience. And God, it's like you always hear the thing, and you probably say it to yourself if you're our age, you're in your 40s. You're like, God, I wish I knew what I knew now at 21.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, there's your fucking chance. It's all in the chamber and the networking events. Go Invest in yourself and learn shit. Nothing is ever lost in a conversation.
Yeah.
Don't trust me. I've heard fear of this before. Most of these are not political. Some of them are, but very, very rarely. It's one of those things. Most people don't talk about politics and religion when it comes to business. And this is usually the case with almost every single chamber or networking event. Nobody does it. They're talking about how to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's it. They're trying to talk like, how do I grow? How do I do this? And, and I've been honest with you, and don't ever be afraid of having a conversation. I have to go meet these insurance guys in 2 weeks that I met at another event. I've done like 6 in the last 3 weeks. And I'm like, I go, honestly, I don't think we're in the same financial room, guys. I think you're in the 30-year room and I'm in the 10-year room. And,
it's all right though.
I don't think we have the same disposable income. And then I'm like, so I don't want to waste your time. I go, but I still want to do this meeting because I would really like to learn. And I go, because I plan on being in your room, the 30 room, in 5 years.
Yeah.
I go, I'm going to double it. And so they're like, and the guy goes, I love your transparency. Absolutely. I'll bring the whole team. Oh shit. All right. Well, I'm good in a group, but I want to learn because I know where my goals are. And it's something that Andy Frisella and Ed Milet, who do the Arte Syndicate, and Andy's got the Real AF podcast, but Ed Milet's mostly just business and interviews. He interviewed the guy who started Netflix and the guy who started Redbox. There's really cool stories. Now they get very political in the Real AF, but that's besides the point. Is they've talked about these rooms, and it's specifically with Ed Milet. If you look up the Ed Milet show on Andy Frisella's either MFCEO Project or Real AF podcast, it's a great listen. If you can bypass the stuff you don't like. But it is. They talk about the rooms, right? And the 5-year room, and this is what you get from the chamber. That's why I'm bringing it up. It's very relevant. In the 5-year room, the 1 to 5 year room, everyone's trying to kill each other. Everyone's putting each other down to try to get their space, try to get the starting lineup, starting defense, place at the table. If you don't know that reference, we can't be friends. The program, 1993. Anyways, they're trying to get to that room. By the 10-year room, it's lighter because a lot of people have fallen out of that room. They didn't make it to 10 years.
Yeah.
And there's still some pissing and moaning and bitching and moaning. There's still people who talk shit about each other a little bit, but you're in a much better place. Like I don't, I was very competitive at year 5 and at year 10 to 12, I'm still competitive, but I'm in a positive place.
Yeah.
Right. When you get to that 20-year room, you're established. You are now anchor in your community with whatever business that is. You have arrived. And that room is very empty. There's only a few other guys or gals in that room. And we're not talking about putting each other down like, hey, what are you doing with this? We're using commonality in that room. And that's kind of the room I'm entering right now. I'm kind of skipped ahead. And I'm kind of entering that 20-year room right now for me where it's guys who technically I compete against, but when we could, but I'm like, hey, how do you guys do this? And it's amazing that I'm talking to another guy who has a brand on the West Coast that markets better than we do. And I send chat videos. I'm like, hey, we need to do this. And I ask him like, hey, who does your marketing? Like who does it? And he's like, oh, cool. Like, cause he's in the 20-year room too. And we want to see both of us grow. Yeah. We have the same enemy, Amazon. And, we have an online, we're in the same boat, right? And so it's amazing in the 20-year room, we're all like, hey, trying to sharpen each other's skills with very complex problems that there isn't a large group of people for me to go to in my core who have that experience. And so that's where the 20-year room is.
Yeah.
And now the guys in the 20-year room where I'm just entering, they're talking to the guys in the 30 and 40 and 50-year room. Okay. Yep. They're the guys, the Warren Buffetts, they're the 50-year room, right? They're the guys who are so established. They are considered experts in every single thing in their field. They are considered pioneers. They're considered like, hey, I want to write your biography. Hey, I should write a book about you kind of people. And we're all striving to that. Do you think I'm going to tell the guy in the 50-year room, like Warren Buffett, he doesn't know what he's doing? That would be fucking insane. But that's how it seems like a lot of these young entrepreneurs treat these things like chamber events and networking events. Yeah. And yes, like I went on a golfing thing and I'm with a 65-year-old, 66-year-old CEO of a bank who I'm like, they let you run a bank? Like this dude was a complete goof. But it's probably because he was on in business, right? But man, what a great conversation. We shared a golf cart for 18 holes. I was getting my ass kicked, so he kept buying me drinks. And I was like, sweet, I like you. We're just talking things. And we started talking. All of a sudden, he's asking my advice from a younger perspective, because I'm 25 years his younger, his junior, about like, hey, with, making loans for people doing payroll, and there's my opinion on it. Like, what do I see? And I'm asking him like, hey, when I go to financing, like, what do you look like? I go, no, I'm not going to do a loan at your bank. I'm just really curious. And we have a great conversation. And he's like, oh, hey, my son owns this business. Oh, no shit. So now I go to Golf USA because that's what his son owns. Yeah. Cool versus the other ones. Like, nothing against, but I'm just like, okay, cool. I'll go support a guy. They're all local, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what happens is I got the chance to talk to a guy who's in the 40-year room. He started at 25, he's 65. He's in the 40-year room. I'm like, cool. What goes on there? Cool. Do they have free snacks? I'm curious. Do they give out? I mean, is there free beer there? Well, let's, and that's the thing. So that's the chamber event. You get a chance to meet guys and gals in the 20, 30, 40, and 50-year room where you want to be, and you're a fool if you don't take that as a chance to become a sponge and just, now I talk a lot. Everybody knows this. If you watch the podcast, you're aware. And that's the one position. I'll tell jokes to get people laughing, but you'll see me talk a lot. But everything I'm saying for the most part is me asking questions. What do you do? Oh, that's neat. Well, tell me about that. Because people get very, what's the word? They feel very proud to talk about what they do. And it's amazing to hear their stories.
Yeah.
And even if I don't find it interesting whatsoever, you won't see it on my face. You have to practice this. My wife doesn't hide expressions from her face, but I'm like, okay, cool. Because, I'm the first 2 minutes of what they're saying, I'm like, God, that sounds boring as shit. And all of a sudden they come to a thing, but we also do this. Oh, that's cool. Why? I'm letting them a chance because people like to feel like they're in an authority position and in a teaching position. People like to feel like that what they do is appreciated. Mm-hmm. So all I go in these events is to give pure appreciation for what other people do, Yeah. And
it's all about just continuing to be open to learning
and understand that every person you do business with, and this is another thing for some business owners who like to shit on their own salespeople, they're in business too, and they're doing a job. And if you're the kind of person likes to put other people down to make yourself feel better, you suck. Get some help, okay? Because it's like our guy who sells water. Like him and I had a thing because the water company we were dealing with were a pain in my ass. They were charging me. He ended up leaving them. And he helped me out a few times trying to get out of those contracts. It was a terrible company. Well, I go to my first Centersphere event about a month ago, walk in, it's the first dude I see. I'm like, Matt, what's up? He's like, right, let me introduce you to everybody. Because I wasn't a dick to him. Even though our business thing didn't really work out, and I was just nice to him. Who else would be nice to the water salesman guy? Who's bugging you to try to spend like ridiculous money on water, right? And we ended up doing just for convenience purposes because we got to a certain size where it made sense. But it was just, and he knew the contract was bad, but I'm like, Matt, what's up? He's cool. Introduces me to every person in the fucking room because I took time to be nice to the water salesman guy who has left that company and gone to another company, which he has a bigger role in, and he's well known there. And this is the whole point. Always be making friends. Mm-hmm. Always be networking. Join every networking group, and the younger ones, like we've told Alex, Christina, the tips groups, which are usually like tips groups for young entrepreneur organizations. They have, young hustlers, whatever, it's anybody under the age of 40, sometimes they're under the age of 30 groups. If you're under the age of 40, you need to do all of them. Yeah. I mean all of them.
If you're female, there are tons of different female groups that, get involved.
They have a single, if you remember, they have regular just women's coffee and contacts in certain chambers as a subgroup. Go, because there's some, like when we gave a speech at Miller South High School 2 days ago. Yeah. And what a great opportunity to talk to youth. And we're going back again on Monday. Then I got Westside High School next Friday, and we did Gretna a couple of weeks ago. And we love doing this shit. And the best part is that we get to talk to young kids. 2 of them sent me emails. They want to work. I'm going to hire them both. Oh, God, I love motivated people. That was me at 17, 18. So I'm trying to be what I needed at that age. But also, like Brittney, here I'm talking to these kids and we're making jokes. We're talking about football. We're talking about supplements and gyms and stuff. And these guys, they're really interested and just totally geeked me out, re-energized me. But what I see over there to my wife, speaking to 2 young senior girls who are trying to figure out their place. And all of a sudden they realize that, maybe Brittney knows some shit. She's done some things. She's got a hell of a resume. They're asked, like, how do you do this as a woman? Like, how do you do this? Do you find it difficult? All the questions they really want to ask somebody who's actually done it. Yeah. Because they're at 18 years old trying to figure out where their place is, where their entry is, how they do these things. They want to be entrepreneurs. What a fabulous tool to talk to somebody who's younger than me, but not young-ish.
I'm young.
We're in our 40s, Britt.
I am young.
We're in our 40s.
I am 40 years old and I am young.
You look hot. So that's what's important. So kid number 7. Anyway, but what a great opportunity to talk to somebody who's already gone through all these trials and tribulations and done these different jobs and have experienced different things, who's actually experienced, I don't know what the word is, but being put down because she's a woman, being put into a position.
And I think one of the biggest mistakes young entrepreneurs might make is not learning from your predecessors' mistakes.
Yeah.
Taking those opportunities to be able to say, okay, where did they go wrong? Where can I improve? Learning from those things and having that perspective. But the only way to have that perspective is, like you said, you have to put yourself in the room with those people.
Right. Mm-hmm. And be open to learning.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. And that's the thing. It's, and I mean, and for her especially, like, they're going to ask questions as a female that I can't answer because I didn't experience that. Brittney's been in positions where, some sexism things were involved, where she was put in positions because she's a woman, or they acted like she was like their pseudo girlfriend and actually pushed her career down because she didn't respond in kind. And she had one job where she literally was kind of shit on after she started dating me. It was in its bullet. Like, I can't explain what that is.
Once
I'm a
I
dude.
got pregnant.
Yeah, once she got pregnant, she very condescending employer is the reason why she came to work for the companies. Yeah. Now, I can't answer those questions, but she can. And that's why you got to get to the room with the people in the 20-year room. That's why you do the chamber events. That's why you learn. That's the whole point, is that, I see a lot of young entrepreneurs sharing these posts, the posts that we all like, that look cute. And they're really, challenging. Failure is just one way it didn't work, or failure is the best lesson in teacher. Everybody says that shit. Well, it's fucking true. The problem is you need to stop posting it as a hashtag on your fucking Instagram story and embody it.
Yeah.
And so, you know what? Other people have already made these mistakes. And so instead of you making them again, go learn from them. And that way you can avoid those pitfalls. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing for me, is I'm trying to avoid my pitfalls now are pitfalls that cost me $100,000. They cost me $500,000 because of the company size. It isn't like a pitfall when you first start and you lost $1,000. Well, $1,000 to them is like 100,000. Yeah, but I'm saying it's still very important. My ones now, my pitfalls, mistakes I'm trying to avoid can cost other people their jobs.
Yeah.
And it's important. So if I can talk to somebody who's already done this, I'm going to. And it's amazing. Everybody's like, how did you get this company to tell you how they did their social media ads? I called them. I was nice and I was gracious. And I said, hey, I'm curious. Like, if you have time sometime, can we hop on a call? Can we hop on a Zoom or a chat? I guess got some questions like how you do your marketing. And I'm really curious. I really admire what you've done. And every time, I've never been told no by anybody. They're like, oh, shit, are you serious? I'm trying to get to your spot. Cool. And then we start trading ideas. So stop hanging out in the 5-year room and get to the damn 20-year room. Join the chambers, join the networking groups, do all of them. And that's the biggest questions we have from the high school kids the last 2 times is how do you do networking? And is there like, for older people, they look at me like I'm a kid. I go, yeah, exactly. They're going to look at you once they realize that you're determined and you have a work ethic and you've got a solid plan and you're willing to learn. They're going to look at you like you're their kid.
Yeah.
And what do your parents do for you?
Anything.
Yeah. What do your parents do for you? They spend money. What do? They here's the thing, like parents co-sign loans for kids, for cars, businesses, houses sometimes. Now let me explain something to you as a parent of 6. We never want to do it. Nothing about that says, no, man, I've been working this for 40 years. I want to keep my own fucking money. But you do it because you love them and you kind of have to, right? I didn't really want to buy kids cars this year. I had my shitty time to buy cars, right? But you do it because you love them. And, and I'm like, that's awesome. Cool. Become the kid of all the people in the 40-year room. Yeah. And you're going to rise. You're going to get to the 10-year room at year 3 because somebody else, all these people in the 40-year room elevates you. You got to get away from this shit. We're going to avoid this, avoid that, avoid this, get here, get here, get here. They want to see you successful.
Oh,
because here's the other part. They want to be part of the story. Mm-hmm. They want to be part of the story. If you guys have listened to this podcast for all 3 years we've been doing this, you go back to the first 5 or 6, maybe 10 episodes, you will hear me talk about my Uncle Steve probably 7, 8, 9, 10 times because he was in the 40-year room and he brought me in when I was in year 1 and started showing me things. And so I knew what the 20-year room and the 30-year room and 40-year room looked like because somebody took the time to teach me, inspire me, motivate me, and mentor me, which has allowed me to be here today. That's why we go to these chamber things, not only to grow our own businesses, but because I want to be that for somebody else. Which is why we do the speeches at the high schools for free. It's why we do all these things. And so understand there are people there with mountains of knowledge ready to pour it into you. You just got to be willing to receive it. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. Go join a chamber. And if I end up chairing the board of a chamber, anyone here locally, you're going to have to join. So, all right, see you guys next week.
You can be a friend of me, an enemy, keep that same old energy, cause I know I'm in my element, ooh, yeah.